Welcome to today's High Impact Strategy. Today's strategy is called Overheard Quotes. Overheard Quotes is a great strategy for increasing the gradual release of responsibility to students while increasing total participation. This strategy is a collaborative way for students to engage in anticipatory thinking. Today's teacher highlight is brought to you by Nicole Thompson. She's a world language teacher focusing on her Spanish 5 course and helping them dig into complex text and informational sources. She also has a great bonus highlight of showing how to increase touch points with students while working with them online as well in person. To get started, you're going to want to identify some key informational sources. These could be a website, a text, a podcast, or many other formats. Assign a specific quote to each student. Also, provide students with a group that they were going to be working with. This strategy can be implemented in a variety of technical ways. When choosing a platform or a format, consider what allows students to have an individual workspace that's also accessible to the whole group, allows them to view and edit within the same space, and have 3 spaces to construct a response, whether it be on a Google slide or pen and paper. Let's go over the steps. First, students review their assigned quote and construct a response giving their opinion. 2, students read their group members' quotes. This allows students to elaborate and view different elements and perspectives from the source that they're engaging with. And then 3, after they read their group members' quotes, they consider what common ideas are shared between the quotes, what conclusions they can draw, as well as what questions they now have. And as always, we encourage students to share, debrief, and elaborate. Today, we're going to hear Nicole's perspectives on the outcomes. And as always, you can receive your own copy of Overheard Quotes by scanning the QR code.
Definitely use this activity when you have a more complicated text for kids to work through, or potentially like a longer text. Pick something that's more of like a rigorous text for them to understand, and this will help them grasp the concepts, I think, a lot better, because they're going to have to narrow in on specific elements of that text that they're working with and analyze that and then find connections to other elements of that same text. So one thing to consider when you're developing this activity is to make sure that you pick really important elements of the text that help the students either understand like the author's perspective or understand maybe more complex components. So like statistics or something like that, where they're going to have to draw conclusions or do a little bit of analysis. You want to make sure you're picking elements of the text that really make them think. And you could also differentiate this way by assigning kids that maybe struggle a little bit more to maybe an easier quote, whereas you give some of your high flyers a more challenging quote or challenging excerpt of the text to work with. Make sure you're individually focusing on both groups at some point. So I usually try to specifically say to the virtual kids, like, okay, please throw questions in the chat, ask me your questions now, or I'll specifically like message kids individually. I use Zoom so I can individually message kids. And then for in-person, I've been making an effort to escape from my desk zone every once in a while and just check in with kids and make sure that they're doing okay, which is just a real quick thing, but I think it really helps to make sure that they know that you're checking in on them and making sure that they're understanding.